Professor V. Muralidhar is serving as head, Department of Mathematics, Mohammed Satak College of Arts and Science, Chennai. He has 23 years of teaching experience. He has attended 3 international and 5 national conferences. He was a resource person at the Mohammed Satak Teachers Training College in Chennai in 2012, where he spoke on History of Mathematical Genius Ramanujan. He was elected Academic Counselor, University of Madras during 2003-06. He has attended the Orientation and Refresher courses at the Academic Staff College, University of Madras. He specializes in stochastic modeling and has rich experience in discrete mathematics, operations research, statistical methods, and numerical analysis.
Welcome to UGC lecture series. Today we will start with statistical diagrammatic representation. So data we represent by different types of diagrams. A diagram is defined as the representation of statistical data, which is defined as a pictorial representation of the data which will inspire pleasing information immediately catchy for the customers. Example, you can take ECG of heart patients, a graphical representation which will give the heart beatings of the patient. Then election analysis. So in the election analysis it shows through pie charts, frequency polygon, etc. So the next we have what is called different types of diagrams. See, diagrams are represented by 3 types of forms. First one is one dimensional diagram, which we call it as bar diagrams. Second one is 2 dimensional diagrams, which is rectangles, squares and circles. Then 3 dimensional diagrams, we have cubes, cylinders and spheres. Then pictograms and cartograms. Then we have what we call first we will start with one by one. First thing is one dimensional diagrams, that is bar diagrams. Bar diagrams, they are defined as thick line whose width is shown merely for attention. When number of items is large, then lines may be drawn instead of bars to economize the space. What are the basic rules of a bar diagram? First one is width of the bars should be uniform. Second one, the gap between one bar and the other should be uniform throughout. Third one, bars may be horizontal or vertical. Usually we use vertical bars, which we prefer for a better look and facilitate for comparison. Then we write the respective figures at the end of each bar so that the reader can know the precise value without looking at the scale. Then you can see some of the following examples which exhibit the bar diagram. So the first one shows the number of immigrants of different countries of the world. So this is a simple bar diagram and which is a horizontal bar diagram. The next one is you have another horizontal bar diagram which will show the kilograms on the horizontal side and different types of fruits on the vertical side. And third one is a vertical bar which is giving the different types of regions and the corresponding proper binding. So this is another vertical diagram. And third one is you have multiple bar diagram, where multiple bar diagram you can represent 3 different types of data for each corresponding year or different types, etc. This we show by different colors. So in this example you can see a simple multiple bar diagram where we have 3 different colors, black color and violet color and red color. The next one is you have subdivided bar diagram. See, here we divide bar diagram into different components. So for each year, if I want 3 different components, I can exhibit by different colors or different shades, etc. So this is a simple subdivided bar diagram where you have number of students in arts, science and law of university. And now you can take an example for each type of diagram. First one is simple bar diagram. In the following you have a data where you have to represent this by a simple bar diagram. Here he has given the year and the corresponding production. So this you can represent by a simple bar diagram. So we have a simple bar diagram where horizontal axis shows year, vertical axis shows production. So for each year you have corresponding production. So for the first one 2008, the production you can write it up to 30. So that is production for 2008. Similarly for 2009 to 10 you have production to be 42. So you have a vertical diagram, you can go up to 42. So this is one simple bar diagram. For 2010 it is going to be 50 something. So you can have bar diagram for 2010. For 2011 it is going to be 72. So you can go up to here and bar diagram will be, you can take up to 2011. For 2012 it is going to be 82. So you have up to here. So you can see the bar diagram for 2012. For 2013 he has given to be 120. So you can go up to here. So this is your bar diagram for 2013. So for each of this bar diagram width should be uniform. So this you can draw for the given simple bar diagram for the given problem. The next one we will move to what is called exercise problem. See, for the by seeing the following simple diagram, you have another problem where we have the data of service tax collection. So for this problem he has given the academic year and corresponding service tax. So this you can try it in the form of a simple bar diagram where you can draw, you can take year on x axis and the service tax you take on y axis, and if you plot it you get the simple bar diagram. So the next one you have what is called a subdivided bar diagram. So if you are given any bar, you can divide the bar into different components. So in this type of subdivided bar diagram, the bar representing the magnitude of a given phenomena, if it is divided further into various components, and each components occupies a part of the bar which is proportional to its share in the total. Example, you see the following data where it gives electricity consumptions, which you can show it by using a simple bar diagram. So for this you should consider the data by taking x axis and y axis as we have seen in the diagram. So you have vertical axis and horizontal axis. So you take the year, here you are starting with the 2009 to 13. So you take 2009 as the first year, second one you take 2010, third you take 2011, fourth you take 2012, fifth you take 2013. So for each year you have to represent the data of your industry and agriculture. We divide them into two components. So if you take the first one, you have 30, industry you got 33.3%. So percentage you write in the vertical axis, you can take it 10, 20, you can go up to 100, or you see what is the maximum percentage given in the data, we have got 58%, you can take percentage maximum up to 60. Now for 2009 he has given 33.7, so you can take your corresponding vertical bar diagram to be up to 33.2, and you can shade this by dots. So for 33.7 I represent by dots, and the second component is 25.3. If you add both you get 58.6. So 58.6 for 2009 you can go up to below 60. So that is your component. So this you can show it by your corresponding dashed lines which represent the 25.3 percentage, and for industry 33.3%. So totally you get 58.6%. On the right top corner you can say what this structure shows, shading shows. So if you write dash diagrams, it shows corresponding industry. Second one, the dotted ones, this represent the your corresponding agriculture. So on the top of the diagram or right corner you must tell what each shading of the component represents, that is given in the top right corner. For 2010 similarly 33.9, so you can go up to here, so 33.9, and the second one is 24.9, so it is going to be 58.8, so that again you can go up to here, you can show by dashed lines. that is going to be for the industry, and agriculture you have as usual the dotted lines. So, this is you have 33.9, the other one is 24.9. If you add both you get the corresponding structure. So, now we have seen the simple bar diagram for a given problem. So, the next we will have a simple exercise where we have the following data which relate to the movement in the index of production of food products, beverages and tobacco products in the for the index 1993 to 1994, and here we represent this data by a subdivided bar diagram. So, here the following data represents a year. For each academic year we are given two components, that is food products and beverages and tobacco products. So, this data we have to represent as a subdivided bar diagram. So, you can take year on x axis and corresponding production on the y axis, and corresponding food products and beverages you can take it as a different components which you can show on the vertical axis. For each year academic year you need two components, each represents different shades or different colors. So, the next one will have multiple bar diagram. So, here we have a bar diagram where you wanted to compare 3 or more datas. So, here whenever you take 2 or more sets of data which are interrelated, you can represent this by a multiple bar diagram. Since in this more than one phenomena is represented, you can show that by different shades or different colors or dots or crosses which you can use to distinguish between the bars. It is used whenever a comparison between 2 or more related variable is to be made. For example, in the following data you have for different years you are given 3 components, one is sales, second one is gross profit and third one is net profit. Everything is given in terms of thousands of rupees. So, you can take horizontal axis, you can choose each year 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, and vertical axis for each you have a bar where we have 3 components for each year. First component represents sales, second represents gross profit, third represents net profit. So, when you are taking vertical bar, first component you can take 120, second component you must take it as cumulative, add 120 plus 40, so you must take 160, and when you take net profit you must take 140, 160 plus 20, that is 180. So, on the scaling you can take 20, 30, 40, you can go up to 200. Then you have to plot you have to draw the corresponding components. So, the next one we will move to what is called pie chart. Pie chart means it is a circular diagram. A pie diagram is defined as circular representation of data where we convert percentages of the data into corresponding angles and plot it in the circle. So, to draw a circle we have to represent by using different angles. So, if you convert percentages into angles you are going to get corresponding sectors for each of the components given in the data. So, you can see the following diagram where you have a circular chart where it represents different percentages, where for more percentage your space is more. For example, 30% you have yellow color, 28% you got orange color, where the space difference is seen clearly. Similarly, for 28% if you draw again both should be same. For 12% it should be less than the space of the 28%. So, if you take these principles into consideration one can draw a perfect pie diagram. Next one you have another example where you have a pie chart for the following data. So, here for each color you can say what that color represents on the top right corner. So, this you could have seen in the election analysis, agricultural charts, where agricultural sectors where you can see all these types of pie diagrams. And then you have a simple problem. So, the following data you have to draw a pie diagram. So, here he has given the data of 7th 5-year plan public sector outlays. So, for agriculture and rural development it is 12.9%, for irrigation and etc 12.5%, for energy you have 27.2%, for industry and minerals 15.4%, for transport and communication etc you have 15.9%, social service and others 16.1%. See, this data you have to represent as a pie diagram. See, first of all the given percentage you have to convert into angle. you can convert that by using the following formula. So, angle at the each of the center is going to be your percentage outlay into 360, that is 3.6. So, if you 3.6 degree. So, if you multiply percentage with 3.6, you get the corresponding angle of the corresponding percentage. So, for example, for agriculture we got 12.9%. If you use this formula 12.9 into 3.6, you are going to get 46 degree. Similarly, for irrigation 12.5 into 3.6, you get 45 degree. For 20s of energy, you get 98 degree. For industry and minerals 56 degree. Then for transport and communication, you have 57 degree. Social service and others we got 58 degree. So, if you compute all these angles, you can compute as a sector. Each sector, if you accumulate together, you must get 360 degree. This is how we construct a simple pie chart. Then for the following data, one can find the pie chart, where you have different types of companies to employees, companies to government, where each one is given in the form of percentages. By using that formula, by multiplying each percentage with 3.6, convert into angle and plot them as a pie chart in a circular form. Now, we will start with the next type of diagrammatic representation, that is a pictogram. How we represent pictogram? A pictogram is nothing but a pictures which will exhibit the information more clearly, concisely and interestingly. For example, a picture is defined as a symbol which must be clearly distinguishable from every other symbol. A symbol must suit the size of the paper. An artist should use the principle of a good design established by the fine and applied arts when drawing a pictorial symbol. Pictograms should be simple to understand and convey essential facts. Example, you can see the following data which represents the different types of sports events. See, the sports event physical exercises you can show in the form of a pictures, where we have different types of physical sectors. The next one is you have what is called weather conditions. If you want to explain weather conditions to the children, you can represent by using simple pictograms, where the picture represents rain, sun, weather conditions, etc. So, you can show by pictures. Now, you have a simple exercise where for the following data you have to draw a pictogram. This data gives milk production in million metric tons in India. So, for different years he has given the milk productions in metric tons. So, this data you can represent in the form of a pictogram. So, for the pictures you can choose the picture of a milk can. So, milk can you write in the vertical axis, and correspondingly you are for each year you can take in the horizontal axis. So, in this way you have a simple pictogram for the given data. So, the next one we will move to cartograms. Cartograms they are nothing but statistical maps which are used to give quantitative information on a geographical basis. The quantities can be shown in many ways, such as through shades or colors or by dots or by placing pictograms in each geographical unit and by placing the appropriate numerical figure in each geographical unit. So, we have a simple example of a cartogram where we have statistical maps given in the form of a corresponding geographical basis. Second example, it gives net federal revenue per capita. So, this he has given by different colors. So, this is also statistical maps which will show a cartogram. Now, the next one we will move to what is called frequency distribution. How you represent a frequency distribution? It can be represented graphically in any of the following ways. First one is histograms, second one you got a frequency polygon, third one you got cumulative frequency curve, or we call it as Ogive curves. So, let us see one by one. First one, we start with simple histograms. Histogram is defined as a set of vertical bars whose areas are proportional to the frequencies represented in the problem. Example, you can see the following diagram where you have a simple histogram which is in the form of a continuous interval. This is another histogram where we have different vertical bars each of equal width. So, he has given in the form of a simple histogram, and this is another example where we have scale of measurement on horizontal axis and frequency on y axis. So, this is another simple example for a histogram. Now, you take the following simple example, you have a data which you can represent by using histogram. he has given the marks and the number of students. So, for drawing a simple histogram, you have to take marks on x axis, where you take 0 to 100 by taking continuous interval. Similarly, on a vertical axis you can take number of students, where the maximum value is going to be 60. So, you can take a scaling to be 10, 20, 30 etc. up to 60. So, if you draw the bars for each of the class interval, automatically you get the simple histogram. So, the next one is you have another exercise, where for the following data, where you have monthly income and number of workers, you can exhibit by using a simple histogram, where you can take monthly income on x axis and number of workers on y axis, then you get a simple histogram. Next one, how you construct histogram when you are given the midpoints of the class interval. So, here you have a simple example, where horizontal axis you got a class interval without a break in between, and since it is a continuous class interval, if you are given midpoints of class interval, you can take those midpoints and that will give you the corresponding histogram, where it is a simple histogram only when midpoints are given. So, the next one is for the following data you can draw the histogram. So, here he has given the class interval without a break. So, you can take the midpoints and plot these midpoints in the horizontal axis and the frequency on the vertical axis, and if you join these things you are going to get a simple bar diagram. The next one is frequency polygon. How you draw a frequency polygon? So, a frequency polygon is nothing but a graphical representation of a frequency distribution. It will be effective in comparing two or more frequency distributions. And how you represent this frequency polygon? You can represent it in two different ways. First one is you can draw a histogram for the data and then join the midpoints by the straight lines for the upper horizontal side of each rectangle with adjacent ones. Then the figure formed is called a frequency polygon. So, first you draw the histogram and join the midpoints by lines, straight lines, we call them as a simple frequency polygon. Second method is you take only the midpoints of various class interval and then plot the frequency corresponding to each point, and if you join all these points by a straight line, you are going to get a simple frequency polygon. So, here each frequency polygon is simpler than its histogram counterpart. And what are the different properties? It sketches only the outline of the data pattern more clearly. The frequency polygon becomes increasingly smooth and curve like as we increase the number of classes and the number of observations. Automatically you can, from the diagram you can easily guess. So, the next one is you can see the simple frequency polygon. Here you got a graph where you have vertical axis number of vehicles, horizontal axis the corresponding routes, and he has given in the form of a class interval time. So, if you join you get histogram as well as the corresponding midpoints you join, you get a simple frequency polygon. Second example, he has given only frequency polygon, where horizontal we take the values, vertical we take the corresponding frequency. For each of the value you take the corresponding frequency, each one we represent by corresponding points. You can see this diagram where all these points are joined separately. So, that will give you a simple frequency polygon. And the next one is you have another frequency polygon, where you have two types of polygons, this for two different datas. So, it shows by different colors. So, from the structure of the polygon one can compare the corresponding datas. So, the next one is for the following data you can draw histogram and frequency polygon. See, in the horizontal axis you can take your marks, and vertical axis you can take the number of students, and in the horizontal axis class interval you can take it as continuous class interval 0, 10, 20, 30 like that up to 100, and the corresponding number of students you take on the vertical axis. If you join these points you are going to get a frequency polygon, and if you draw a vertical bar for each frequency to corresponding marks, you are going to get a simple histogram. The next one is for the following problem you can draw a histogram and a frequency polygon, where you have daily wages and number of workers given. See, daily wages you take on a horizontal axis, number of workers you take it on the vertical axis. So, if you draw the vertical bars you are going to get a simple histogram. So, this you can make it as a simple exercise. So, the next one is we will move to cumulative frequency curves, or we say Vogue curves. See, here Vogue curves, whenever you take the following questions like a number of workers in the factory, whose wages are less than 8,000 rupees, or number of employees, how many employees are getting salary more than 4,000 per month. So, in all these data one should add or subtract the corresponding wages. So, the addition of wages we call them as cumulative wages. Here we call that as cumulative frequencies, where we add all the frequencies subsequently. So, to answer these questions you have to add the frequencies, we call them as cumulative frequencies. These frequencies are then listed in a table, we call that as cumulative frequency column or cumulative frequency table. See, the curve obtained by plotting these curves we call them as Ogive curves, and you have two types of curve, one is less than Ogive, the other one is more than Ogive curve. For example, the first one you can see the less than Ogive curve. See, in this you start with the upper limits of each class interval. See, the given data you are given class interval with the frequency. So, for each of the class interval you take the upper limits and go on adding the frequencies. So, that will give you the cumulative frequency of the less than type. When you join these frequencies you are going to get the corresponding curve, and this curve is called a rising curve. You start from the lower point and you are going up to the 100% in the upper point. So, this is called less than cumulative frequency curve. The second one is more than Ogive curve, where we start with the lower limit of each class interval, and from the frequencies we subtract the corresponding frequency of each class interval. Then if you join these points you are going to get a curve from the top to the bottom. So, we call this as a declining curve. So, as shown in the diagram, this is a corresponding declining curve, and in some problems we have to draw both less than and more than curve. So, this is an example where you have got both a less than type of curve and more than Ogive curve, and if you take the intersection point, that is called median of the data. So, for the following data one can draw the cumulative frequencies curve, less than type and more than type, where we are adding the frequencies in the left side and we are getting less than type of cumulative frequency. On the right side you got a component, we have greater than type of cumulative frequency. If you plot them you are going to get corresponding more than and less than Ogive curve, and then we have a simple exercises for you to try. So, the following problems, first problem you draw Ogive curves to the data, and second one you can draw the histogram and frequency polygon for the following wages and number of workers, and third one you can obtain the frequency polygon to the following data for class interval and frequency is given. Then draw the pie chart to the following data where you have agriculture and the corresponding industry. Thank you.